We're here to talk about what risk really means. Not in theory, not on paper, but in the choices real people make when the stakes are real and the outcome isn't guaranteed. Risk shows up in silence, in urgency, in loyalty, fear, and hope. It shapes what we build, what we protect, and what we're willing to fight for. It's not just personal, it's deeply connected. Every calculated risk leaves a mark, and the ripple it creates doesn't just touch one life, it echoes through families, businesses, and entire communities. This podcast is about those echoes, the ones that remind us that we're not alone in the decisions we make or the weight we carry.
Okay, so we're on episode 5, and we decided this was a good time to just maybe realign what we're doing and go back and look at the last few episodes that we've done. When we started this, we really talked about not wanting to be in the insurance space or be limited, because risk isn't really a limited thing. It's in everybody's lives in multiple capacities. But we've done a few episodes with some business owners. We did not-for-profit, and we really looked at how risk is showing up in not just their business life, but in their personal lives and how that's impacted their decision making. And then we've kind of realized in these past few episodes, are we limiting ourselves? So we want to take some time, maybe talk through the few episodes we've done, and then discuss what our go forward plan is from here, because I think it's going to be some pretty exciting stuff.
I think so too, and I think one of the goals that we talked about from the very beginning was not to make this about insurance.
Sure.
And I think we've accomplished that, in a really great way. I look back at the 3 episodes that we've had guests, and I'm really impressed by the conversations that came out of those particular recordings. I mean, there's great stories there with those individuals, with the Learning Lab in Wichita and the uniqueness of what's happening in education today, to the stories of Jason and Raul and starting where they started and now where they're at. I think it's just been a really cool thing to be a part of, sharing those stories, because I think that there's people out there that have seen our podcast, have known these people, but maybe didn't know that story.
Yeah.
And now they do. And I think that's kind of cool.
I always like to hear the why, right? Their story, the why. For my clients, people I meet on the street, the guy I played golf with last night, right? I mean, just learning why they got where they're at. So
yeah. And then we talked too just about, do we open this up more? And because those are great stories, and they all started with, a business of some such, but there are farmers, there are moms, there are healthcare workers, there are school officials that deal with risk in a really broad scale across a lot of things, and are we missing that and just limiting ourselves to speaking to, an entrepreneur or business owner?
Yeah, I think it's easy for us who, we're in the business of business, and it's easy for us to, see very quickly who we could identify from the business perspective of where they've taken risk. And as business owners ourselves, we understand the risk behind being a business owner. But there are so many people doing so many unique things out there in the world, and they don't own a business, and that's okay, right? And they're facing great risks or unique challenges in what it is that they're trying to accomplish. And I think about the impact that what they're choosing to do has on other people too, right? Because I think that the idea of risk and its impact and how it benefits people. Because from one of the things that I said from the early onset of our show is, I don't want risk to be a scary word or a bad word. I want it to be a word that, there is a reward to it. Risk is risky, right? And it can be detrimental in a lot of different ways. But there's a whole other side to it. And I think we're keying in on the fact that we're seeing that through the conversations that we've had. And we're identifying that there are people out there in all walks of life, in all situations, that can contribute to this conversation. Because I feel like this is an ongoing conversation. Our podcasts are just an ongoing conversation of what that idea of risk is and what it means to people. So I'm excited about the idea of expanding this sort of influence and relevance to the idea of risk outside of just business.
Right. Well, and you brought up farmers, right? We've got so many farmers that are clients. We're here in central western Kansas. It's raining, fortunately.
Right.
But our whole economy is based on ag, right? Look back at Salina being the milling capital years and years ago, right? All the businesses that we insure around here have something to do in the ag space one way or the others, right? So it's such an important cog in our economy.
Yeah. Yeah, you think about you drive to all of our 14 locations in the state of Kansas, and at every location you can find a really big grain elevator, right? That just is enigmatic of what our world is. I'm excited about getting a farmer on this episode because, I mean, I couldn't grow anything in my backyard, let alone give me a quarter section and figure out how to grow a crop that you sell.
Right.
And the risk involved in that is tremendous.
Yes.
So tremendous. So it'll be interesting.
Just even rain, but then look at where we're at as a world today, and tariffs and oil prices and all of the factors that go into all of the factors that go into it.
Yeah, it's huge.
So
Yeah, I think we barely just grazed the surface. I think we knew what we wanted to do, but then it took a few conversations to be like, there are so many things happening in the world, and even post COVID, I know it's been a few years, but like just how that's changed the scale of risk and reward and everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere and everything we do and continues to. So.
Well, and part of it is too, as sort of the person who might be conducting the conversation. I'm learning through this, and one of the things that I'm working on doing is making sure that I'm listening really well when I'm sitting across from that person that we might be recording the podcast, and identifying areas in which I can go deeper in terms of getting the story. And I think back, this really came to me when we sat down with Raul, because the story that he has about his business is one thing. The story that he has about getting to the point of the business
journey,
is a whole different story, right? And I look back on it and go, I didn't go real deep into that story, but there's a whole nother story there. And all of that involved a level of risk and what that meant to him and his sibling and his family, his father and mother. That journey that really began as a young kid, and it took 15 years to come to fruition, right? I mean, wow, that's kind of the cool stuff that I'm like, okay, as a part of this process, I'm learning about myself as a person who's going to be sitting across from somebody. How do I ask the right questions, right? How do I get from them their story in a more intimate way? And so I'm learning through this whole process too, which is kind of.
I'm built that way too. I love to learn more about who they are as people and how it got them where they are and just what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I definitely think we as human beings tend to maybe hold those things back sometimes because we don't want somebody to look at us differently. And we've talked about this. We're asking small community business owners or members to talk about something that's kind of vulnerable and can be very close to their heart and does put them in a space where they don't want to feel like somebody looks at them differently. But the reality is we all have that. Like, that is definitely a connectivity point across human beings as we are, and just learning that it's okay to be in that space and that everybody has those stories. And I think to continue to hear more of that is a good thing.
And I hope too that it validates for people as they watch this that their story is important and that their story has impact, and that the risks that they've taken have impact in a lot of people that maybe they don't even know. You know, you have interactions throughout the day as you go about your day, and most of them seem mundane, but people are watching you. People are seeing you, and you have impact. And this is a way. I think this show is a way for us to reinforce to people that whatever your story is, no matter how small or insignificant you think it is, it's probably much more significant than you think, right?
That's true.
And the willingness to sort of accept that and lean into that as somebody, and not in a non-humble way, but in a way that says, what I do does matter, or what I've done did make a difference.
Right.
And I think the ability to communicate that and allow people to sort of have that moment for themselves, I think is, I don't know. I mean, I think a really big picture about our podcast and what it'll do, but I mean, that's the heart of this for me, right? As a part of that.
I'm always amazed when I talk with business owners how many are in business not purely for profit.
Sure.
Some not even for profit at all, right? They've got other reasons that they do what they do, whether that's employing a bunch of people, whether that's the freedom and family, whatever it gives them. It's not always about the money, and that's refreshing in today's world to me.
Agreed.
So
Well, not even just in business. You think about how many, we talk so much about our farmers and our ag. Think about how many of them do that for the greater good of humankind, because there's no way you're going out there to do it for profit, because we know that's not the case. And school teachers, we could talk about that in its own episode. They're there because they want to help kids
right.
and make a difference, and it's hard work.
Well, I think it speaks to the human condition. We, as humans, want to help other people, right? And so I think it often feels like in today's world that it's not very altruistic, right? That it's very self-centered and it's me. But I think that when you get right down to it, all the things that we see on social media and television and in the media, that is a very small part of what the world is. And when you get right down to it, what we're trying to do is shine the spotlight on what is really, truly the world in the way in which we can, and using this platform to do that. And I think people want to do good. I think everybody wakes up in the morning and go, I want to do good today. How do I do that?
You turn off the news.
Yeah.
Go help them.
Yeah, exactly. Who cares whatever it is that's going on? I mean, not that you shouldn't just not care, but focus where you need to focus, or where you can do the most good.
Until we get diffused with work.
Sure. Yeah, that work gets in the way a little bit
Right.
sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, there are so many things that are outside of our control, and a lot of the things on the news are outside of our control.
Yeah,
Some
absolutely.
capacity.
Absolutely.
But what we can control is what we're going out in the world and doing, and it's a risk we take every day.
Yeah.
But multiple people doing multiple good acts across the world is what we need.
Yeah, it's like compound interest.
Yeah.
It compounds upon itself when people do good. You might do one good thing for one person, and it's going to affect 10 people.
Good.
Right? I mean, that's just what's cool about it.
Yeah. We also discussed moving outside of ourselves a little bit, letting some other members of our agency do some of these interviews. Some of our smaller communities have some really great guests we want to include, and I think it makes sense to let our local agents do some of that interview process with them. So we'll be expanding who we have on the show from that capacity too, which I think will be exciting.
That would be neat.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I said that would be really neat. I've got a couple of ideas there.
Yeah, that will be fun. It'll be fun to see other people in our organization involved in this. I think that's one of the things that we try to do as an organization is to, allow for opportunities to expand outside of what your normal day-to-day looks like. And this is one of the ways in which we can do that. We've got some really talented people in our organization that I think are going to really enjoy the opportunity to sit down with a local person, one of their clients, or a friend or a family member, and really be able to dig in, to what it is that they're doing. So yeah, I'm excited about that part.
Me too.
One of the things that might be helpful and good for engagement is asking those who are watching this podcast or interacting with it is, if you got somebody that you think might be a
Suggestions.
great guest, send us a direct message or comment. I mean, I think that would be kind of cool to open it up to, what, people are watching who they might know.
Right.
I mean, there's so many people out there, right? And we don't know their stories, but, it'd be kind of cool to see, maybe get some feedback.
Yeah, my goal with this is to have our own little corner of the world where we talk about, yeah, we have risk in life. Yeah, there's a lot of risks we can't control. There's a lot of reward in what we can control and what we can go out and do, and just continue to share stories as humans in ways that we can all attune to, like being in the middle of struggle and trying to figure out what to do next. Being on the other end of it and being successful, starting out and not knowing what you're doing, or and just everyday life of people. There's so much connectivity across. We're also kind of muddied by what we see
Mhm.
now. I think on TV and in social media it can be very overwhelming.
Oh,
But
yeah.
there's a lot. I think there's a lot of good that if we can share a little corner in the world of that, I think that's
Well,
worth it.
and all these people have such great wisdom, right? And I want to be that kind of resource or podcast that you sit down with a notepad each time, and somebody's taking a couple of notes, going, "Man, that's really good. Maybe I should, use that. Maybe that idea of attitude or approach is something that I should try," and that they do that, and that we become sort of a resource for people who want to continue to grow. One of our core values as an organization is growth mindset, right? How do we take this? How do we take this opportunity with this podcast to help other people outside of this organization grow, right? So hopefully that's something that that people do as well. So I'm excited about what we can do the rest of the year. It's not easy to do these. I mean, these people that are doing them every week, they have like staffs and staffs of people, right? But it's very accessible to do it, right? It's very, the platform exists, and the technology that we use is, 20 years ago we'd have to have these huge cameras in here, and there'd be all this stuff, and now it's like cell phones and 35 millimeter cameras are doing what we do, but
Your one man crew.
and the one man crew, and we're just and so
Our staff.
but it's it takes time to put this all together, and so I think we've gotten into a pretty good rhythm, and that rhythm will continue to accelerate and will allow for even more opportunities. So excited for the rest of the year.
I too. Yeah. Like us, follow us, share us. If you have somebody that you think would be a good person to have on, has a good story, we definitely want you to send something to us and let us know. We definitely want to grow this and just help try to share as much as we can with each other. It's good.
That'd be great.